Hi everybody. In this video, I will talk about store and reducer in Redux framework. Let's start with the previous project, and we see that now we want to create a reducer and store. A reducer can contain some of the data relating to food user, for example, food reducer, user reducer. So firstly, I create a new directory and I name it its reducers, and inside this we have some of the reducer. Each of the reducer is a separate JavaScript file. The first is food reducer. Okay, and inside the reducer we only have a function. Export default means that this function is public and you can use it from another file, another JavaScript file. This is a function, and then you can use the ECMAScript standard by using the arrow function. We have the left is input parameter and the right is the content of the function. So inside the content or the implementation of a function, we return an array. For example, we calculate, we get some data, and we return an array of food. We have some of the property, image, URL, name, description, created date, also etc. with the form of position, key, and value. So we have an array of object of food. And then we have, for example, we have multiple. We have some of the food, Japanese food. We have Japanese oyster, kimchi, multiple salad, vegetable, traditional, etc. So this is a function that export an array of food. So similarly, we have a user reducer file. The user reducer file is also a JavaScript file. So inside this we have export default here. Return an array of user. We have some of the user object. For example, we have first name, we have field last name, we have description, we have age, and we have multiple user here. But remember that each of the object has a separated ID on a unique ID, not have the same ID. Okay, so we have two reducer here, food reducer, user reducer, and I want to dispatch this to the store. I create a JavaScript file that manages on the reducer. Icon is the index.js, and this file will manage on the reducer. Firstly, I must import reducer of food reducer is an object of array foods from food reducer. And then I import similarly I import user reducer from user reducer.js at the same directory. So this index file will import all the reducer, then now create reducer depending on the input reducer. We have multiple reducer here, and I have to import the combine reducer, the combine reducer object from Redux. Okay, so I can use this. We have combine reducer. Okay, let's check about this combine reducer as a function. Okay, then I can clone this function, this combine reducer function here with some of the input parameter to combine all existing reducer. So let's create a constant variable on reducer. The on reducer is initialized one time, so it only changes inside, so no need to use variable, use constant. We have the food the property food is food reducer, and the user property has a value of user reducer. So if you have multiple, you can add etc. For yeah. When you export your own reducer object, you export the own reducer object to in the main file. I can use it. We can use it. So in import all, paste to here, all reducer from the directory is dot reducer photo slash index, but the index is not necessary because it will automatically read the index file inside the photo. So only use the photo or the directory here. Then I create a store object. The store object is an global object that contain all the state and the data of your application. So this is the store. The store is also constant because it initialized one time, but and then it only changes only on the inside property. Yes, so we have the store object here. Then after that, you can npm start to start the project. Okay, what's wrong? The reducer, it is that because the own reducer object it cannot be export, so we remove this because it export the only entire own object.